tell where my head was at when you found me.
VelociCoaster at Universal Islands of Adventure in Orlando is an amazing experience and is way more than just a coaster. I actually have quite a history with this ride though. Back in like 2019 or 2020, I actually saw it getting built, and for some reason we thought it was like a Sandman coaster thing. I don't know why we thought that. Now fast forward to 2022, we went in like late fall to Islands of Adventure and Studios. I was like on my way to becoming an enthusiast. I studied this coaster, VelociCoaster, online because when I went to Hershey that summer, I actually liked all the rides there for like the first time, and that's what turned me into an enthusiast. Because like all the rides at Disney, Universal, and Hershey are like all really good. And when I finally rode VelociCoaster, I only rode it once. It was like in the morning on a rainy day, so it's probably like the worst conditions to ride it in. And then in November, I finally made it back to Universal after I rode Iron Gwazi in September. Now, spoiler warning, I think VelociCoaster blows Iron Gwazi out the water. That's just my opinion, though. I thought that VelociCoaster was absolutely amazing, though. When I went back in November 2024, there was like 2 perfectly sunny days of like clear weather. It was like 70 degrees out. It was absolutely like perfect conditions, and I just lapped that thing both days. I did ride some of the other rides there, but I just kept on coming back to this thing. Okay, so let's start with the entry experience. Once you first walk on islands, you get this great view of the top hat and the Mosasaurus roll across the river. You then pass off the Dr. Seuss stuff and the Poseidon area, which they really do need to fix up both the areas. Because the Dr. Seuss area, it's like all worn down, and then the Poseidon area has no rides in it besides this one good restaurant, but I don't know. Anyways, when you cross the Jurassic World themed bridge, you get absolutely stunning views of the top hat. That's like all I wanted to do was when I was in the area, was just like taking pictures of the top hat and like all the ride around me. It looks really cool when you're actually there in person. The pictures don't really do it justice. Now I had an express pass both the days that I went, so I only went through the express line. I imagine it's pretty similar to the standby though. A couple things that are in the queue is a raptor statue with all 4 of the raptors. There's like a pretty cool screen which shows the raptors chasing the chain through the second launch. There's also some raptor animatronic heads. You then get to the double-sided lockers, which are actually really nice. I would always hustle to get my phone in the locker as fast as possible to get through the metal detectors, and the final part of the line brings you up the stairs into this ginormous room where they have this big screen with the pre-show playing at all times, which I watched definitely at least a dozen times. Once you get to the end of the queue, you can request the back row or the front row. I don't really know why you would request any other row, but it's fine, I guess. I almost always went back row, right seat. I only rode the front row once at sunset, though. The difference between the right and left seat is crazy. It feels like they designed the ride to be best in the right seat. The outer bank in the second half is absolutely insane in the right seat. After you put down the most comfortable lap bars in the world, you depart the station in S-Bend. The first launch is kind of weird because the train like rolls back and forth as you're getting ready to launch. I have no clue why it does this, but it's kind of weird and kind of cool. There are screens on either side of you that with raptors running out as you launch. The launch is so freaking punchy though. Now this first launch isn't as good as like Kingda Ka or Storm Runner, like all the hydraulic launches, but it's still really good. The first element definitely does lift you up a little bit in the back row, but nowhere else really on the train. The second element takes you up pretty much every single seat, but does a lot more in the front half of the train, not as much the back though. Then you do an overbank into the highlight of the first half, this insane small little airtime hill. It's crazy how strong the airtime hill is for like the amount of airtime that gives. It's good no matter where you're sitting though. Then you turn to some S-bends around like some raptor statues, which is pretty cool. In my opinion, it's just some filler, but it's fine. Then another overbank, and then you're into the part of the ride that actually did scare me the most. It's this fast-paced change of direction that flings you towards like a raptor statue on the right side of the train. You get freakishly close to it, and you speed up the closer you get to it. Then you would go through another rock into a small outer bank, which does nothing before the second launch. You then turn into some more S-bends at the bottom of the drop into a 0G stall. Now this is definitely my favorite stall of all time because like the way it's shaped and the fact that you get that like goes over a pathway, it's like absolutely perfect. Then you whip out of it into a cool wave turn, which gives a great pop of airtime actually. Then you continue the turn into a crazy outer bank. Now it's small, but in the back row, right seat, you'll get absolutely thrown out of your seat. It's like basically almost as strong as the drop off the top hat. Then you do a small overbank into a speed hill, which brings you into the most talked about part of the ride. Now the Mosasaurus roll is actually a little bit overhyped for me when I first rode it, Not as overhyped as Iron Gwazi it was for me, but still. The element is so crazy and it goes by so fast you can't even comprehend it. It's definitely my favorite inversion I've experienced besides X2's first drop right behind it. It has airtime the whole way through, and you feel like your face is going to get ripped off into the water. Now, the final SL is actually really good, but you're still processing what happened on the roll, so you don't really notice it as much. Overall, I think VelociCoaster is an absolutely amazing ride. I did not get credit for it before I rewrote it. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye, guys.